I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, May the 10th, brought to you in part by Joplin Regional Stockyards. Expecting a light run for this regular feeder cattle sale on Monday morning, only about 4,000 head expected. Looking down the calendar here as we go into the later in the spring and early summer, there'll be no sale on Memorial Day Monday at Joplin, so keep that in mind. They've got a value-added special going to be in late June there, and then a couple of yearling specials there at the tail end of June and the first week in July. Also, Primetime Livestock will be having their Big Bang video on July the 1st, so keep those dates in mind. A better week, hopefully. I don't think we could stand another week as bad as last week. Of course, the week couldn't get any better for your Packers than it was last week, as they were able to raise the box beef cutout values to new record highs under normal conditions, and backed off on your fats quite a bit. It's just unbelievable the margin that they've been able to attain. But with no leverage in your trade, I don't see how it can get any better anytime soon. But I mentioned on our last visit that it's looking as we go forward that only the corporates are going to be able to afford to feed these cattle. Of course, they're under contract to do so, but also their Sweetheart formula deal includes some box beef cutout values, so they're able to get no telling how much more for their cattle whenever they run them through their Sweetheart deal. And so your basic cattle feeder that just sells on the cash market, or even if they're turning them in on a regular grid, probably not going to be able to afford to feed it when your cost of gains are going to be running about $1.50 a pound for every pound that you put on. These feeder cattle, as cheap as they've gotten and as much as they backed off, they're still too high. These feeder cattle got to get a lot cheaper if they're going to pencil out. But there's some outfits that have to have them, and so it'll be mostly corporates feeding them. If we continue to go forward like this, what does that mean when you only have corporate order buyers in your sale barns or out in the country? There's less demand for your feeder cattle. So now you guys that haven't been worried too much about getting some type of a minimum negotiated cash trade deal on the fat cattle because you don't feed cattle, well, now you're going to start seeing it trickle down to you. It'll be less demand for feeder cattle going right into the feedlot if fewer people can afford to feed them. We don't have very many independents doing it. And then in turn, your market, guys won't be able to background cattle like they used to. So then when they get down to your calves, they're not going to be able to spend as much money on your calves either. So it's starting to work its way down quite a bit. We got this meeting of truce going on here on Monday. And like I said last week, I didn't know till late last week, it's supposed to have been a top secret deal. Well, cat's out of the bag now. Let's make them come across with something. Let's find out. Go to your association. If you're active in National Farmers Union, American Farm Bureau Federation, RCAF, NCBA, or U.S. Cattlemen's Association, or even LMA, they're facilitating the meeting, and we give all the credit in the world to them. If you're a member of any one of those associations, you come to them after this meeting and you ask them what they got done. What's going to become of it? I'm really hoping and praying they get something done and come to some kind of a common ground that they can get something done. And I really hope that it's one of the two bills, or even better, maybe a hybrid of the 5014 Cattle Market Transparency Act. We've got to get one of those things done. Let's look at your week in the board last week. June live cattle futures, Monday was down $1.27, Tuesday down $2.27. After Tuesday, we started seeing some support. Wednesday was up $1.40, Thursday up $1.05, Friday up 55 cents, with June live cattle ending the week at 116.02, down 55 cents for the week, which is not a train wreck. August live cattle ended the week at 118.85, actually up 23 cents for the week. May feeder cattle, Monday was down 55, Tuesday down 3.30, and then we started to see a little bit of footing. Wednesday up $1.72, Thursday back off $1 with grains up big, but Friday up $1.25, with May feeder cattle ending the week at 131.72. That was down $1.88. August down $2.48 for the week. closing out at 144.27. But let's look at some of your grains. May corn nearby ended the week at 772 3/4. Yes, and the heck of it is those places that aren't very far from your corn belt, or actually in your corn belt, still have a plus basis for cash. So there's some places you would consider to be in the corn belt that had $8 cash corn to end the week. Oh my gosh, you would think that would start to shake some of it out, if there is indeed several guys that have it stored it on the farm storage there. But I would say we'll probably get some of it as the market starts to back off a little bit consistently. But for right now, they're just going to keep riding the ride. But 772 3/4 for May nearby corn old crop. That was up 32 3/4 cents for the week. New crop December 636 1/2, up 72 3/4. And it's unbelievable, what we've seen here on our grains, and will they keep going up? We saw significant moisture over the weekend, especially on Sunday, in parts of your corn belt, especially in Iowa. I had a good friend from Iowa call and tell me he had a nice rain. If it had been any more than that, they'd have bitched about it washing the seed out. And so it was a nice rain. Can't complain about that. I think we'll see your grains back off here early in the week, at least on Monday, and that should support your feeder cattle market. How about beans for May? 16.21, up 50 cents for the week. New crop November 14.33 1/2, up 93 3/4 cents. Wow, big time. But what else do we have looking forward to here in our grain markets? Big supply and demand report coming out on Wednesday. We're going to see at that point what changes we've seen in the amount of acreage that's devoted to corn and beans, or vice versa. We're also going to see the ending stocks for old crop and for new crop, what the expectations are for that. That's going to be a big mover there. We haven't had a friendly grain report to your cattle market for a while. As drastic as things have gone, you would think almost if we steered them a little bit back to average, it would have to be good for the cattle people. Let's talk about your fat cattle trade. Through Thursday, 73,500 head were sold negotiated in your 5-area feeding region. Live sales steers and heifers range from 117 to 119. That's about a buck lower on your trend. Live sales of weighted average on live sales of steers 118.35. That was down about 50 cents on the weighted average from the previous week. Dress sales steers and heifers 187 to 192. Your weighted average on dressed steers 188.47. So even though our range there, 187 to 192, was $1 to $3 lower, your weighted average was a full $2 lower. No trade hardly at all on Friday. I mean, hardly anything. About 800 head in Kansas was all that was quoted at 119. So those weighted averages aren't going to change a whole lot. How about box beef cutout values? Records. Look at your weighted average on choice for all of last week's trade. Your weighted average was 303.51. Wow. Up $11.72 from your previous week. Now, I told you last week that when we saw our all-time high fat cattle price live basis of 172 in late 2014, the corresponding record for high box beef cutout values at that time was 257.13. Our weighted average on all of last week's sales was 303.51. Your late week quote on Friday afternoon was 305.88. Select quotes, your weighted average on all of last week was up 756 at 286.70. Late week into the week quote was 290.27. Your slaughter, 638,000 for the week, 11,000 less than the previous week, 162,000 more than the same week a year ago. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction ended the week at 129 1/4, down 447. So 129 and a quarter, it fell below $1.30. That's the first time that your real-time index has fallen below $1.30 based on an 800-pound steer since, that's the first time it's happened since right after 4th of July a year ago. So last summer, midsummer. I mean, it's really starting to whittle on these guys, and their input costs are going up every day. Cash feeders and your sale barns, cattle going right into the feedlot, a lot of those big calves, some short yearlings, $2 to $5 lower. Your not many stocker type cattle really left anymore. They would have already been gone and turned out somewhere, but new crop calves steady to $5 lower for sure across the country. How about some individual quotes from around the circuit? Turlock Livestock Auction Yard in Turlock, California. It's dry out there. It must not be dry everywhere. I saw some impressive quotes on some stocker types, and indeed I assume these are too. 72 head, 715-pound steers in Turlock, California, bring $136.75. Nothing to sneeze at. How about Bluegrass Stockyards, Richmond on Friday? 141 head of program steers weighed 804 at $133.95. At the top quote that I saw anywhere late last week was on Friday at Montana Livestock Auction in Ramsey, Montana. That's a market that had a lot of nice calves in there. It's dry in that country. People are having to sell them long before they normally would because they're out of grass. But these calves come out of western Montana, eastern Idaho, in that sale barn there at Montana Livestock Auction. Check out this quote. 80 head, 620-pound steers bring $179. That's your feeder flash for Monday.